I thank everyone who's here today. My first thanks come to all you guys who have always been so supportive and are a very important symbol of the trust and confidence in what we have been doing to try to transition the economy from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, post-Ukraine economy. And a central part of that has always been my continuing reminder to people that we, the government, cannot do this alone. And the partnerships that we will need, a strong partnership with the private sector. And your being here and in the past have been so supportive is a primary element and most important element for that to succeed. I'd like also to thank, of course, Mr. Chipman and Mr. Rahman for sharing your thoughts with us on really a rather intriguing question, which is perfect for the times. Will geopolitics finally kill off globalization? Well, it is something that really needs to be thought about because there are such contrary forces that we feel both in the geopolitical sphere, but also in the economic/trade sphere. Now, I think what happened, especially I'll use the Philippines as an example, is that what happened during the pandemic is that we were brought back with a hard thud to basics, and so we have decided that we have to strengthen our own local economy to be able to withstand shocks such as the pandemic, such as Ukraine, in the future. And there is an element, there is a tendency of protectionism in that, because we take care first of our own businesses. We take care first of our own industries. We take care first of our own economy. But but there is the contrary force to that, is that the very clear understanding and assumption by everyone who thinks about these things that trade is the key to wealth for any country. No country grew wealthy without a very strong trade relationship, not only with one or two other countries, but with the rest of the world. In terms of geopolitics, your remarks, Mr. Chipman, in that we all desire, especially, let us say, around the South China Sea, we all desire a more multipolar. However, the forces of us going back to that Cold War type of scenario where you have to choose one side or the other are strong. And when I speak to the other ASEAN, APEC members and the other leaders, and I ask them, and they ask me, do you feel it, that you must choose? And I say, yes, don't you? And unanimously, they say yes. So the multilateralism that ASEAN, what we call the ASEAN centrality, that has become a very important concept. I think we are determined as a group in ASEAN and in the Indo-Pacific, those around the Indo-Pacific, despite all of this conflict, we are determined to stay away from that. And simply because we are anchored in the idea that the future of the Indo-Pacific, the future of Asia-Pacific, for example, cannot be determined by anyone but the countries of the Asia-Pacific. And that removes us immediately from that idea that you must choose. We choose our friends. We choose our neighbors. That's the choice that we have made. And so, although because of these crises, the pandemic, the Ukraine situation, because of these crises, there have been tendencies, as I said, towards nationalism, towards closing borders, towards protectionism. But I think that technology has taken us too far. We cannot go back. And in both the global arena and in terms of politics, the geopolitics of it, and in terms of the economy, the global economy, it is now conceptually impossible to even think that we could have a non-global economy, that we will return to what we were 200 years ago. 100 years ago. That simply is not going to happen. And so although we have, I think, we've hit a very big bump on the road, several big bumps on the road, I think the tendency after a while, after things have settled, after countries such as the Philippines have put in place the elements of policy, the elements of legislation that are necessary to be able to adjust to what is the new coming economy. Once that is in place, I think that globalization will start, we will start to return to that tendency of globalization. I really would love to discuss this further with you because it's a terribly interesting subject and it's critical to the future of our planning. So thank you very much again for those for sharing those thoughts with us. So thank you all very much for coming to this lunch. As I said, it's been a very productive one. And I look forward now to the formal opening of the forum so that we can go further into these subjects that are very, very important to all of us. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, for me, the strong belief in the private sector, that combination is perfect, right? Because, you know, not only do you get the money, but the advice and the enthusiasm, right? You know, when you have the private sector that is just so happy and so excited because you give them the time. You know, he meets with us every 2 weeks with one sector that's already set up, gives us the respect, gives us the schedule 1 year in advance of all the meetings. Where do you get that, right? So when you have that dual type of respect for each other, it excites people. In the president's belief in the private sector is very strong. You know, the amount of money we need is quite a large sum for the country to build the infrastructure projects that we want between the roads, the ports, you know, the airports. So we're going to need a lot of the funds to come into the agriculture, right? So we're going to need a lot of the funds and the expertise from countries around the world, right? And so for us, the private sector, we can partner with the best in the world, right? To be able to solve problems and not band-aid, but to structurally change so that it works for the generations to come and not just, you know, for 3 months or 1 year. I think that's a major part of the president's thinking process, right? It's changed the structure. It's got to hurt a little bit so that the structure is changed for the long term. If it's easy, then the result is also easy, right? If it's hard, then the result is also more long term. And I think that's part of the excitement that we all have. It's doing things for the long term. Yeah, so again, like I always say, you know, I think the Philippines is really going to be the next big thing in Asia. We are very excited to work with the government today because we see that they really appreciate, you know, the private sector. I mean, digitalization, for example. You know, I mean, the government cannot do digitalization alone. It needs the private sector, you know, from the talent and the knowledge that we gain from all over the world, which is changing so fast. So yeah, that's my final message. I think that the private sector is very, very happy to work with this government.
World Economic Forum was really organized so that businesses from all over the world can come together, along with government, as well as people from the academia. I think in this particular, for this year, there's about 2,700 participants, 1,600 of which are from the business sector. I think this is the first time in almost 10 years, I believe, that we've actually participated. As you know, 7 of the largest corporations are actually part of this contingent. So I think that this is a very strong signal that the Philippines is open for business, and that we are, you know, I think this is a good chance for us to showcase what the growth story of the Philippines as a country. I believe President Marcos has been very effective in, you know, showcasing the Philippines, our strength, but also showcasing that his government is open for business and open to partnerships, you know, with other governments, but as well as with partnerships with private sector. And that we are here trying to bring in really foreign investments. On the political front, I think also my view is that the President has really shown that the Philippines is really a friend to all, and that we're not necessarily leaning more towards the West or the East, that we're very, very balanced in where we are positioned. And I think that's the right strategy because our location as a country is so strategic. We are right in the middle of Asia, and we are within a 4-hour flight distance to 70% of Asia. So that puts us in a very good, very important position, a very strong position for tourism, logistics, manufacturing. As for Alliance Global, as you know, we're into real estate, we're into tourism as well, and more importantly, we have also global operations through our distilled spirits company. We have operations in the UK, we have operations in Spain, and we have operations as well in Mexico. And so, in a way, we are a Filipino company with a very strong global presence. And I think this forum is very important for a company like ours. I think there's a lot of meetings on the sidelines. There's a lot of things we can learn, but also partnerships and cooperation that can be created from this particular platform. Like I said, on another note, I think the Philippines as well, we are very strongly invested in tourism. And so, it's a way for us to also promote the Philippines. I think that this, again, we're very excited to join President Marcos. This trip and this journey for the Philippines. It's after 2 years of this pandemic, as he has said, we've kind of taken a step back. But I guess in that process, there's so much realization. But what is needed really is global cooperation. I think our president is a firm believer in globalization. Coming to the World Economic Forum, I think that his belief can be made known to a large audience, and that I think will give the Philippines a lot of credibility in the global community.